again, we're very excited to be here this afternoon to discuss about fintech, about Barcelona, and we'll spend now a little bit of time also discussing about technologies, right? But first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Miquel Noguera. I'm head of innovation at IEF, Institut d'Estudis Financers. I also teach. I teach at NYU Stern, Columbia, right? ESADE, well, and long list, right? And I'm working in all these artificial intelligence, big data technologies that we're going to discuss in a minute, right? We have in our fantastic panel, right, this afternoon, Francisco Sierra, which we already know, Marijan, you already know, and I would like to introduce Eric Brieba. Maybe you can introduce yourself in a couple of minutes.
Nice to meet you. It's a pleasure to be here and share this panel with those fantastic persons in the fintech industry. I'm the CEO of Strands. Strands is a company that we help banks to remain competitive in this fintech world. So we use artificial intelligence to help them engage their customer and understand them well, alert them better and amaze them.
Yeah, we have also Philip Jellis from Cantox. So
Hello. So to make a long story short, Cantox, we're a fintech company too. We develop solutions for businesses to manage foreign currencies, foreign exchange. And we are basically split between London and Barcelona, with most people in Barcelona, so we feel more Catalans than British.
Okay. So so we've had so far fantastic speakers that all have introduced Barcelona as yeah?
You forgot.
Yeah, sorry. Montserrat, I'm sorry.
No problem. We knew each other so much, no?
Yeah.
Your part is landscape. Good evening, good afternoon, evening, I don't know, because with this mobile we change hours. So this is Montserrat Guardia. I'm the general manager right now of Alastria. And Alastria is a blockchain consortium. We don't say blockchain anymore, we say decentralized network. And we will talk about that. It's a platform that can help to disrupt the finance segment in fintech or banking. So thank you for inviting me, and very nice to be with all of you.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks, Montserrat. So we've seen so far two speakers that discussed about Barcelona as a fintech hub. We'll touch upon that in a few minutes too. Francisco has discussed about the future of finance. So this is something that I would like to discuss with the rest of the panelists. And then Marijan has discussed about distributed ledger technologies. So maybe the first thing that we all come here today to understand more, right? It's about the future of finance, right? So how do we see, or how do you guys see the future of finance that is being redefined by this new technology, but new customer focus? How do you guys see the future of finance in 4 years from now? I know it's hard, but we would like to know your views about it.
Well, from our perspective, we hope that the Internet of Value is becoming a reality, and I think we are striving to get to this result. There will be more consolidation. I think that would be probably more beneficial for some markets. Again, I'm talking about the blockchain and how this will evolve. I think it's, I will do the analogy with the internet. I think when internet started, it was so many different use cases, and everybody wanted to resolve all the problem of the world. I think blockchain is at the same stage. Blockchain is not only there for resolving all the problem of the world. I think there will be some use cases that will prevail than the others, and I think that will be the choice of the users actually. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very exciting moment, at least for the payments space, We see all these new entrants, the business models that are changing. We see the pressure on the banks that they are moving themselves as well. And I think it's going to be a very exciting moment.
I can skip this one.
I will say it will be a huge change, and it will be related to something that is already happening. I think it's already happening. We are seeing right now the future of finance. I always say that the future is there. We only need to discover. So saying what Marcian was saying, what is the future of finance is how much you can partner with others. So the capability to partnership is what we will see in the finance segment. So if we can use this platform like the new internet, the blockchain, in a proper way, we will see more partnership and we will see use cases more focused on customer services than products. So it will be moved to service than to products, and it will be more about how many people can be partnership with finance and other segments. So how you can offer services in multi-segment situation.
Thank you. My view is that 4 years from now, all this disruption that we are seeing from financial technologies will be already consolidated, and that fintech will be mainstream, so it will be in everyone's life. And the aim behind fintech or any other of these technologies like blockchain or artificial intelligence is to make people's life easier. So in the end, 4 years from now, the main beneficiaries of all this will be the customers.
Okay, so I understand your question is more where fintech will be in 4 years, not the financial industry. Look, I think we are really now at the top of the excitement in the industry with massive investments, a lot of buzzwords that many people use without really knowing what it is. I think that quite soon we will start going back to some basics, which is really the value you bring, the revenue you make, the profitability you can generate. So really coming back as many industries that are going through hype cycle like IoT, big data, at some point you come back to reality. I think the next 12 months, 24, we will come back to reality. But there are many things to do. One thing that I think is really happening now is most banks have really understood they cannot really transform themselves from inside. They need collaboration. They need fintech company to help them and support them. I'm quite convinced that soon we will stop speaking about finance and banks and fintechs. It will be a single thing. It will be financial technology, independently of really who are the players, small, medium, or very large. But as you said, meaning there is amazing opportunities, not for the next 4 years, but for the next 10 or 20 years, because it's probably the biggest industry ever to go through this kind of transformation.
Okay, by the way, if the audience has questions or remarks, please feel free to interact with us, right? Well, we have discussed a little bit about distributed ledger technologies, and we will after, but I would like to ask you a question about, we haven't discussed about big data, artificial intelligence. I would like to know what are your views? What are the best or some good example that you've recently seen on big data, artificial intelligence, right? Maybe.
Okay. Artificial intelligence for financial industry, what Strands is doing. At the core of our products and services, there is a suite of different artificial intelligence algorithms that works out all the big data that exists in the banks and in around every single transaction. And that data can be enriched with more information that may come from other external sources. So success cases around that we are seeing in the market is with artificial intelligence, what we are providing to financial institutions is to understand much better their customers in a personalized way, one by one. Of course, saving the confidentiality and the protection of the personal information of their customers, but what we are also actually seeing is that they are enabled to understand every single person very well. That means also understand what are the potential opportunities with that persons, to anticipate what are their needs, and behind that to offer personalized solutions to that, to cover that need. So that's a very immediate impact that we are providing to more than 650 financial institutions that we're working with. That's just an example. We can mention much more example in risk, analytics, and so on, but I want to give the word to other panelists.
I will say the important thing on what we call artificial intelligence is just to define artificial and intelligence. I think intelligence is about knowledge, and before knowledge you have information and data. So as much as we can analyze what is the data or what is the purpose of data to become information and then knowledge, we can say that the software can do intelligent decisions or intelligent automatization. So I think we still need to become backwards to the taxonomy, the definition of the data, what is the importance of this data, how many data do we have, how many data is prepared to accomplish regulation, and then we will talk about intelligence. So first data, information, knowledge, and final intelligence. So still a long-term situation for the developers, but little by little we will get to this final artificial intelligence, but we are still not there. We are in a path to do that, and it's very important the data analytics. It's very important to understand data, to understand why is the purpose of the data and so on. I guess you are on that, no? I don't know which is the other, but...
In our case, to be completely honest, I'm still not sure what does this mean. I mean, we have some data scientists in the team. I will say they are quite intelligent. They are not artificial at all. They are human beings. They basically work on a lot of data we produce with our clients. But for me, it's still very unclear how we can really, if you envision the future, have massive applications. And I'm probably not the right person to answer the question because I'm not an engineer. But I will say it's still something that personally I'm questioning quite a lot because the applications are still to come. And so I want to avoid supporting the buzz if I'm not really able to see what we can do with artificial intelligence. And always I like thinking about pragmatically what can this offer to my clients. And as a bank client, so I'm a client of 3 banks probably in different countries, I have not already received this massive offering, as you say, very personalized that I think will come at some point, but it's still extremely early stage. I remember a couple of years ago receiving a targeted offering in ING Direct in Spain for specific travel with a discount which was more or less personalized. I mean the destination discount, but it happened once. And the 2 other banks I'm using, never, anything. So I'm still we're still very, very early in the process. But again, I think there are people that are better than me to speak about that because we are not very involved.
So I think Eric mentioned it very, very well. It's not just about using data to learn and adapt. With artificial intelligence, you can also personalize. But going further, it's not only really personalized to what the customer needs, it's also to anticipate what the customer is going to need, even if they don't even know about it yet. So that's the magic around it, being able to predict. And that's what I think the biggest value is in the future.
Okay, so personally, what I think is that, in my view, what we're seeing more and more is one thing that we haven't discussed, but it's obviously the emergence of natural language processing as a very important tool for right? For banks to analyze databases, for investors to figure out sentiment and trends. So at least on my side, we're seeing more and more applications of natural language processing. Obviously, there are many open questions about that Montserrat mentioned about obviously privacy and stuff, but it's okay. Then obviously the other technology that we've discussed here is distributed ledger technologies or blockchain. So I would like to know your views about. We've seen examples of how blockchain and DLT have been used, and also your views about the cryptocurrencies as a investment element, right? As an investment. So I would like to touch upon that now.
I think coming back to blockchain and going beyond the hype and buzz, I think you have to really see what is the problem that you want to resolve. That's the first thing. Some of the products that we see in the market and we think that it brings really interest, it's, for instance, I'm giving a case of micropayments. I don't know how you're familiar with it. In the web services, it's very important. There is no way of doing micropayment today. And our CTO that left, actually, our former CTO, he has created a company called Coil. And they are actually working now with companies like Wikipedia, or really small or byte fraction media that you want to buy in the web services, to see how this works. Using the digital asset, actually, that's the idea. Using the digital asset and paying micropayments. Today, honestly, there are some model in the web or internet, like subscription, but it's not a democratic way, actually. It's still cost. So I think that's an interesting part that we see. Secondly, and I think this is coming back to the word, the poor word, Bill Gates and Melinda Foundation, they created a project which is called Moja Loop, and they are using actually our protocol, which is Interledger protocol that I was explaining. Because when you are going to Africa, and many other countries, it's not only about Africa, you have a fragmentation in terms of a mobile service provider, because the money is not necessarily in the bank, so you have lots of non-banks. You have wallets, you have switch providers, so you can imagine that it's so complex and difficult for a non-banks to send money. So I think what this foundation had worked is that how you can make the interoperability possible between. And there also they are partnering with Ripple or ILP mainly, this open source, and they are using that in order to connect all these different systems that are involved in the ecosystem of the payments. Secondly, coming back to another business area, which is more security, and I think this is going, because digital assets or a token is store of value. And when we look at the security world today, the securities, the capital markets, you have exactly the same pattern. You have multiple intermediaries, you have lots of cost involved, and honestly, the system is not really designed as such. So we see a company like, for instance, Securitize. So they are, their business model is helping companies to tokenize shares. This is not around really speculating. It's really creating a framework around how a company can create and tokenize the share. First of all, how they can create the share, the token, based on the value of the shares. How they can manage the whole regulatory part of that, and how they can create a better investor services. So this is not around trading speculation. This is really around bringing a different experience and removing some of the operational efficiencies on the securities business. Sorry, it was a question. It was not.
What? Sorry.
To answer.
Andres Rodriguez. First of all, thank you for all your presentations, but maybe I'm a little bit skeptical, probably like Philippe. I love your point.
I'm not saying anything on blockchain already.
No, not for blockchain, but in general, this kind of talks and this kind of panels, like the future is here or whatever. I've been in the blockchain ecosystem for 4 years, and we are always talking about the same, about the unbanked, about the frictionless micropayments at the smallest fraction of a cent. And I want to get more straight to the point, no? So I will get the opportunity to ask you, because you're from Ripple, for example, so which is the real value Ripple is giving to a bank more than this huge liquidity that you can offer? Because Bitcoin is also, you know, zero time or zero fee solution to send lots of money through countries. So which is the real value that Ripple is giving to the banks, more than this huge liquidity?
Well, I think it will take time probably to explain the real value, but in a nutshell, living in a world that the payment takes 3 to 5 days, you limit that to a few seconds. Well, we are talking about fiat currencies here, because not everybody is using Bitcoin, and definitely not banks.
Please,
Oh yes.
can you pick the phone,
so
the
XRP.
microphone?
Yeah, I think this is getting too much up. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
just asking. Bitcoin,
Okay,
XRP
exactly.
are cryptocurrencies. You told before, like, you can, as a bank, can buy and exchange XRP and then send it into seconds. And you can do it with all the cryptos you showed. So my question is, what's the difference between choosing XRP or Ripple ecosystem and choosing Ethereum more than the liquidity that you can offer, which is billions of dollars in cryptocurrency?
I mean, the choice is always the choice of the users, right? We don't see a lot of institutional use case yet for Bitcoin. Probably I'm wrong.
I want to know why. I want to know why. Why?
Because, well, I think we can take that offline if you want. But I think in the presentation was very clear. The way that still Bitcoin or Ethereum are based on the proof of work, the performance that it is behind, the cost that it is still associated, they are not necessarily built for the liquidity that you need in the international and in the fast mode.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
That's it.
Maybe-
Thank you.
Yeah.
To give another
Other views?
to give another angle to your question, and I'm not a blockchain expert and I'm not a technologist. The argument in the end are it's cheaper, faster, more efficient. Things that in the end banks and payment rails, so SWIFT, are basically not being updated in 50 years. They have been in the 60s, 70s. Most banks are still running on COBOL and technologies that no one even knows already. So if you go to London, to the city, you have people that are retired and that still works for bank just to make sure if there is an issue with the COBOL language, they are the only one able to fix it. So banks are like cars running with engines from the 60s. So they are not fuel efficient, but no, because engines are 50 years old. Do you have other technologies that might be now much faster and much more efficient than what they have? Yes. Blockchain is probably one of them. Is it the only one that can solve this inefficiency challenge? Probably no. It's one of them. Is it cheaper to do it now with blockchain or to invest in another kind of technology? It's a bank and SWIFT decision really to rebuild the network. And there I have no opinion because I'm really unable to, I have never benchmarked, so I don't know if it's better to build something from scratch, use a blockchain technology, share a Ripple XRP between everyone, or having different banks building their own, like JP Morgan seems being doing now. This is really then a technology decision. And my opinion is the opportunities in fintech in the next 20 years are about serving clients better. Meaning, you don't care when you buy online if the e-commerce is using Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure or servers on premise. It's irrelevant. Do they use PHP, Python, or Java? It's irrelevant. It's really the value they bring you. So N26, they bring value to the end user, and when you have your card or your app in your hand, you see the value compared to an old school bank. You don't care about their back end. It's not your problem. So for me, the real opportunity in the future in fintech are still in serving better the customer and not so much on the back-end technology, even if there are probably $1 billion opportunity in back-end technology. But it's another debate.
We have someone on the audience, Raquel.
Hi, everyone. Is it working? Yes, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So which are your views on the role of the regulators with respect to the fintech industry?
can take it.
Sorry for the question.
Yes. No, it's a very good question. No, and it's a very important question. From our point of view, and I can talk about Alastria, this is a consortium where regulators are in the consortium, because the role of the regulators is precisely to be part of the new definition of how are going to be the changes, how you are going to use these new technologies, and what will be the role of protecting, controlling. So it's very important. It's critical to participate from the beginning, and it's important for them to understand that there is a change. So everyone who is participating in an innovative opportunity must be there listening to, and they are doing, for the time being, they are doing that. I can talk about several regulators that they are very close to understanding the technology and to understand the use that this technology can be done. So for sure they have a role, and it's very important. That's my point of view. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, maybe Montserrat, we're discussing about blockchain and cryptos. Obviously, you're an expert on that. Can you elaborate a little bit on cryptos? Yes. and specific examples of DLT?
Yes, I will elaborate following the question and so on. I think it's very important for everyone right now in the 2019. We are not in 2008. We have been evolving from Bitcoin. In fact, was the first implementation in 2009, so 10 years already. So in these 10 years, what we have been seeing is two things. Bitcoin is born with two B's, no? The little b is the coin, is the currency, is the change. And the other big B, Bitcoin with capital B, is the platform, is the way, is the mechanism. And over these years, 10 years, everything has been evolved, and we can think only in the cryptocurrency, we can think only in crypto active or in digital assets, or we can think in the platform that is allowing this transmission. So from a telecom and software engineers, what is very interesting is the way how we are doing cryptography within the TCP protocol. So how we have been changing the way of communicating through the net, changing completely the digital architecture, allowing data not to be going to a central place, process, and go finally. No, right now we have different decentralized nodes where everyone can get the same data, and everyone can decide over doing something with this data. So this is the big change of the DLTs or platform of blockchain or decentralized network, is the platform itself. If we put later value in terms of currency, or we put value in terms of tokenization of assets, that's the future. But what is important is to separate the mechanism of transmission with what we are putting on top of it or inside of it. And from the cryptography, what is very interesting is in terms of cybersecurity. With this type of networks, we are increasing the security of the things we are exchanging. So that's what is important for me. We are allowing us to enter in a digital world a little bit more secure, and it's true, it's going to be a little bit more complex, because that means we change the business model, we change the architecture. But this is what is interesting, is to use the platform, as a way of transmission. And of course, there is one little thing on top of that, that is the crypto or the digital currency, or the value of the money, or how we change that. But it still is behind legislation. And I think we will see several progress on that, like the last years. But this is another topic, no? It's how we put value on that. What it means is a currency or is digital asset, is a physical token. That's the future.
Yes.
Continuing with blockchain,
Yeah.
I want to touch the point that Marjan mentioned in her presentation about financial inclusion for non-bank people. I know that someone in the public is skeptical, but I want to touch that point in purpose. It is a reality that 1.7 billion people of adult population is outside of the financial loop. So of the financial market. So if you look at that from a business perspective, there is a huge market there. But if you look at that from the social perspective, there is also people that are in need of financial services that are excluded right now. So I am a big fan of blockchain as a technology that can enable that. There may be, as Philippe said, many other technologies that can play a role in there, but particularly in looking at blockchain and all the applications that we are seeing out there that are working, I am a big supporter of blockchain as a technology that can enable banking to those excluded people. In a form of, for example, what Ripple is doing, you are working for banks to enable them to reach to that, but enable what I would like to call is a concept in my mind that I want to share with you, peer-to-peer banking, for example, by enabling transaction peer-to-peer through the blockchain with all those people that right now they has anything to be able to make transaction among them. So this is my contribution to the debate.
Yeah, we have a question.
Yes, my name is Martin de Jong. I'm a Dutch national living in Barcelona. I opened a bank account with a traditional bank in Amsterdam in 1975. I started living in Catalonia in 1985. I opened a bank account in a traditional bank in Barcelona, in Catalonia in 1985. When I in the 1980s made a transfer from one bank account to the other, that would take about a week, would cost me a huge amount of money. When I do that now, if I do it on my computer screen and I have my two windows opened, I think this gentleman in front of me is working for one of the banks I'm working with. If I do that now, I sometimes see if I make a transfer from the Dutch bank to the Catalan bank, the money is actually at the Catalan bank before it leaves my account in the Netherlands, and vice versa. But sometimes it takes a second or two. Now, my question to you in the panel is, are you the people behind this technology? And if you're not, how are you going to compete with that? Because the transfer is for free.
I'm not very sure. I'm not very sure about. I'm not very sure about your question and the point. I mean, having instant payment across Europe is something that's basically becoming the norm because regulators are pushing for this. So I don't think that N26 is successful or not because they do instant payment and your bank is doing or not. I think it's low relevance. It's just a single thing.
So you're talking about SEPA Instant, and that's actually highly regulated within the Eurozone, right, and just for euros. Think that the market is much broader when you're trying to do FX, so foreign currency abroad and outside of the European Union. The experience is much different, right? So I think
if you go outside the Eurozone, it's a little bit more complicated. But then you do, so it's not that, technology-wise, it can't be that much more complicated if you work with different currencies.
But the problem with banks, meaning it's the way they are designed, the fact that all the legacy can hardly be updated quickly at a low cost, that they're extremely inefficient by design and by legacy. It's not that fintech companies have access to a technology that's 10 times better. That's not the point. I mean, what any fintech does, any bank can on paper do it. If this was the case, there will be no fintech company in the world. And bank will be super efficient, super user-friendly, so it's really not the point. It's like, meaning British Airways can run eventually a plane with the same cost as EasyJet, technically on paper.
So maybe if I can add from more a banking perspective, I think there's like this feeling around that if you're not in blockchain, you're not innovative, right? That you're kind of left, you're kind of out. I would actually go to what Marjan was saying at the beginning. That was, you need to know what's the problem you're solving, right? And I think that you see some banks actually jumping into blockchain without even knowing what they're doing. So it's like getting a Ferrari without even knowing how to drive it. That's a big mistake, right? I think that several banks would need blockchain for some things, such as non-banked transfers, but it's not the solution for everything, right? So SEPA Instant is already working. It's a different thing.
But sorry, I'm coming back to this question that you mentioned that it's not that complex. Have you tried to send money, for instance, even a very liquid USD, for instance? Do you get a fast response? Do you know where is your money? Yeah, well, I think it's more complex than we think, much more.
More contributions to that?
Yes, a couple of short questions for the panel. First one is, well, at the end, the business of the banks is on the credit side, on the financing side. Okay, I know what you can do, what the fintechs can do in disintermediation, but is there any place in the sun for fintechs in credit? What I mean credit is not disintermediation purely, and then get directly, but in entity credit, bank credit. Is any place for fintechs on that? That's the first question. Second is, both for banks and for fintechs, you are playing in a field where the asymmetry of information is still very high. What is your role in improving financial literacy, financial education of the customers? I mean, what is your role here? Thanks.
So over the next, hopefully, months and maybe 1 or 2 years, we're going to see a huge change here because of PSD2, new regulation coming in on the payment side that will actually change where the data is. And until now, it's actually banks are owning the data of the customer. That's why we see that asymmetry, right? And when the customer owns their own data and can decide where to share or how to use their data, then you would democratize this access to basically this offering of products based on that data. And I can be analyzed by one credit institution, one bank, whoever it is, the same way or different ways, but with the same amount of data. And that's what you're saying, this asymmetry plays a very big role. So on the credit side, I think it will much more, I mean, we will see a huge evolution during the next years on really polishing those, I would say, how do you call it, this asymmetry.
What about solvency? I mean, how you are going to solve the solvency requirement?
The solvency issue of the customers.
Not the solvency.
The solvency.
Giving credit, you need, capital.
That's a good question. What we will name lending or credit in fintech is already one of the 2 or 3 main segments. So there are already billions of dollars every year that are basically deployed as credit by fintech. Then what will be challenging, at least the next 5 or 10 years, is to deploy massive credit to massive companies. So if General Electric needs a 10 billion credit, it will not be a fintech company that will write the 10 billion check. This for sure. But if you want to deploy credit, microcredit or small credit at scale in almost real time, don't expect bank to be able to do this well. Or if you want to embed credit in e-commerce checkout processes, fintech already do it much better than banks. So again, in the future, it will be a single, very complex ecosystem with very small company, medium, large banks, everyone embedded. I think the people that will really have a hard time are the mid-sized regional banks that don't have the scale to play the global game and that don't have the agility of fintech companies. So they have basically neither the strength of the large banks, neither the strength of the fast-moving companies. This one will have a really hard time because they cannot really compete. But the large banks, they will not disappear, there is absolutely no doubt. And so it will be a mix and a complex ecosystem.
Maybe Eric, can you help banks on credit, right, you guys?
No, I see the future. As Philippe said, lending is one of the main or more successful applications that we are seeing in fintechs. And there is a bright future for that because by democratizing data, information can be analyzed, for example, for scoring for customers. So basically, any company can use that information to put a score on their customers. So though the lending fintechs are doing that, banks can do that, but retail companies can do that as well with that. So.
And maybe to come back to your question, the main opportunity in retail lending is mortgages. And giving mortgages, honestly, is a dumb process. So giving mortgages at scale by fintech, believe me, in 4 years from now, it will have happened. The real challenge, I said, is the very large loans to some companies or infrastructure. This is a different game, and you need to be a $1 trillion balance sheet bank to play that game. But anything retail, honestly, and credit for cars, when there is an asset to back the loan, I mean, it's extremely simple.
Okay, so we are obviously in a massive startup event, so obviously I would like to, guys, give a little bit of advice to these entrepreneurs that are here to start new projects or working or scaling up new projects. So I would like to know your views on how this needs to be done in a fintech context. So how you see a fintech being successful. So what would you advise to these new groups of people, right?
Let's ask to the biggest one.
Yeah, I think focus is the most important one. Going wide and doing everything is very difficult, and you cannot go mainstream. I think, again, I don't want to mix it by technology because it's not necessarily your business. You are thinking of bringing value and changing things, but I think focus is very important, and it's not always easy. People start with thinking that they are focusing, but they are not. So questioning themselves all the time on, am I doing things right, or where are we going in what is the real vision that you want to achieve? I think that's a very important success factor, and some businesses, they lose track of this very fundamental and common sense things.
Focus on what you're doing, obviously, as Mayan was explaining very well, but also be flexible and adapt where necessary and learn from what your customers are saying or are needing, basically.
I was spending an answer to the education. I really think that it's critical to get educated on what you try to solve. So if you don't have a clear framework of what is the problem you are solving, your solution could be excellent, but it's really be careful if you are trying to solve something in the financial world. You need to understand, you need to learn, you need to understand finance quite well, and you need to understand tech quite well. So if the team doesn't have a good tech guy or girl, or a good finance girl or guy, you have a problem. You have a big tech that is half done. So if you want to dedicate yourself to do a startup in fintech, you must know a lot in finance, and you must know quite a lot in technology in the last, and I will say in the last status of the technology, so in emerging technologies. So better study that and then try to really see if your solution is solving a critical problem, because the competition is there, and right now the most important thing is you partner with the right people. So understanding the market, understanding the finance environment, and understanding the technology status. I will say that.
For startups in general and for fintech startups in particular, believe, work hard and persist, and look for alliances. I am a stronger believer in alliances and partnerships. Making the force of many is much more than the force of all of them separate. So I think that's my best advice.
So as said before, I think the ecosystem will really get much more complex with thousands of fintech companies and banks. And I think collaboration, partnerships, so you name it, alliances will be stronger and stronger. So independently of the type of fintech business, I think having some things that at some point banks will have appetite to deploy at scale with millions of clients is really a very interesting opportunity. The problem with that is to make sure you generate appetite for banks to deploy your product, you need to start selling directly. because if not, you don't generate this credibility. So even if your product at some point can be deployed by a bank with 10, 20, 50 million clients, this will only really happen if you're able before to generate 1 or 2 million clients yourself. But I really think that in the future, there are many opportunities in showing to banks that your solution is extremely valuable, hard to replicate, and so it makes sense for them basically to partner and to deploy at scale. But what's really challenging is to come to this moment where you have generated enough appetite and you have survived all along. So it's when you say you have to be persistent, because this can take years. If not, you can raise $300 million and basically deploy it a lot.
Yeah, so very interesting questions on so I hope the entrepreneurs will have this good advice. Maybe let's discuss now, obviously, the events called Barcelona Fintech City. This question is addressed, obviously, the ones that choose in Barcelona. I would like to know your views on why you decided to have your operations here. What make Barcelona an interesting choice, right, for the ones that in the audience that might be trying to make these choices soon or now, right? So why Barcelona?
So N26 is based in Berlin, and we were growing very fast, but we could grow even faster if we had multiple locations. So we realized that Berlin does not attract all talent in the world. So for certain profiles, they would prefer to live in a different city, such as Barcelona, and a Mediterranean city that definitely is offering a great lifestyle. And also, obviously, is a very good talent pool and a very good, I would say, entrepreneurial mindset. For us, it was actually very important to be closely connected to our headquarters and also be a market where we're operating, where we have our product actually working. We could have thought about going to, I don't know, Israel or even further, India, right? But we needed to build something that was a first-level technology hub that was actually attractive for the best talent, and also consider that they can understand and feel our product, so that our employees are our best customers, obviously, and here in Spain we have operations. Having said that, we've received a lot of support from public institutions at a city level and at a regional level. And that's actually very much appreciated. And I think there's right now we're in this beginning of the wave. We'll see this. We've seen it in London, we've seen it in Berlin. Maybe this is in Barcelona, maybe it's 5 years or 4 years, a bit behind. But we will see that this city is going to boom and it's going to do amazingly well on the fintech and the overall tech sector.
I mean, in our case, we have been here from the beginning, so we didn't decide to come. So we just decided to stay, which is a bit different, but I mean, I'll say, no, but it's a great ecosystem, a great lifestyle. I would say more and more talent, more and more companies, more and more investments. So in the end, I think it's a very good equation, a very good balance. And 6 years ago, it was maybe not the case. It was much smaller. But now I would say it's quite easy for us to attract talent. We have 20 nationalities. We bring many people from abroad. Getting visas for people who are not from Europe is reasonably fine. And now with the Brexit, I mean, we have a very clear view that this is our base.
Yes. That's the thing. I think in this panel is a good representation of what could be the Barcelona Fintech Hub. Cantox and Strands are companies that born here in Barcelona. We are taking the name of Barcelona everywhere in the world. We are selling in all continents. We work for financial institutions, 650 financial institutions worldwide, from Singapore to Argentina, Middle East and Africa, not just Europe and the United States. So examples like Cantox or Strands, there are others in the city, but also complemented by German, American company that are starting operations here in Barcelona, Alastria, working with the regulators and the ecosystems as well. So all the ingredients for making a significant fintech hub in Barcelona are here and are coming, and investors are coming to invest in fintech company here as well. So this is the perfect storm.
I want to highlight, no, this is a consortium and it's decentralized. So one of the decentralized nodes is in Barcelona, and I'm very pleased for that. But I think all of us, we need to start to think about that. More and more, the network is there. More and more, we can operate all around the world. And to be an open city, where we tell everyone to come and also tell everyone to go further to other cities, is good. So decentralization in terms of technology is what we have. And moreover, in Alastia, we have a lot of partners in Catalonia, but we have 13 ecosystems connected, and this is about bridging. So this is very important, and this is a city of bridge. This is a city open to the sea, and we love everything here that makes things easier. So that's what we want to add to that.
Yeah, obviously, Marijan, we invite you if you want to open an office in Barcelona. So you're sitting in Silicon Valley, which is obviously a fantastic place, right? So
to be honest, this is me talking. This is not Ripple. If it was me, I would have been already here. But I think, yeah, indeed, I think we are present for the moment in London. But there are some speculation around Brexit, all the things that are happening. I think this is honestly the right place to be. So, but I cannot decide alone.
Sure. I was.
We don't want real estate to be as expensive as San Francisco, so don't come. Let us alone. We are much better.
Okay.
We don't want it either.
We have more question in the audience, and we have 3 minutes. So think about other questions.
Yes. Hi. I would like to go back to the fintech subject and follow up on the question of Mr. Soler about the asymmetry of information in the consumers of finance. Because I've heard many times, or at least a couple or 3 times, the term of democratization of finance, and that fintech is mainly about benefiting consumers. But the answer to Mr. Soler's question about the asymmetry, because one of the main problems of finance consumers right now is this asymmetry of information between finance corporations or finance companies and consumers. And the answer I heard is that more data will help consumers, will help this asymmetry. That's what I heard. And in my opinion, this is not per se something automatic, that more data will benefit will solve this problem, will help solve this problem. So I would like to put on the table again this question, because I'm afraid that in some ways more technology, more automatization might do the opposite, might enlarge this asymmetry and make it bigger and make it more difficult for consumers to understand financial products, financial issues, than the opposite.
Look, we try, and I think we do it reasonably well, to bring transparency to clients, to explain better what we sell, and to build simple products. But my view is that people don't get educated. People educate themselves if they have a willingness to learn. Meaning, if you sign a mortgage with your bank and you don't read anything, you just sign, and 3 years later you discover that they rip you off, honestly, it's your fault. I mean, at some point, it's not third parties and fintech companies that will educate everyone and everything will be nice. You also need to have this willingness to get educated. So we experience very often with clients things that are absolutely incredible from banks, meaning ripping client off with things that are absolutely unfair. But at some point, you're also seeing, look, you also have to spend time to understand. It's always a balance, and it's not only in finance and in banking, it's in any industry. If you buy a T-shirt which is extremely poor quality, super expensive without thinking about it, I mean, it's up to you, So we try to bring transparency. We try to have simple products, things that you can understand by reading a couple of pages and not 20 pages. But if you don't spend time to try to understand things, at some point there is no miracle.
Yeah.
I think I just really want to stress what I mentioned about democratization of data. It's not is that more data is going to help everybody. If only one person owns that data, then obviously, or one institution owns that data, then there's more asymmetry. Sorry. What we really need to understand is who owns that data and who is actually using that data. So the more people that have access to data, or the more companies that have access to the same data, the more balanced the system is, right? So that's what you need to understand. It's like, how do we actually give everybody the same access?
Well, maybe the question would be then these regulation initiatives, PSD2, open banking, right, that are supposed to break the asymmetry, so to speak. Well, we're trying to see how this works, right? I don't know if you guys have experience on it, if you see it as a positive development, right? How are your views on open banking and PSD2?
You're answering your question and your question. Just an example. When we talk about democratization of data, means also that you, as an entrepreneur, can access that data thanks to open banking compliancy. That data, that information, today belongs to bank. By opening that information to others, you as a single entrepreneur can create your own startup in the fintech or in the retail space, for example, and have access to that data, analyze that in the benefits of your own company or in your own customers. So for example, that's an example of democratization of data, and that's an example of what is coming up with the open banking.
We have just 1 minute left, so maybe a very quick question there.
Sure. That's a question for Francisco and Philip, and 26 and Cantos at the end. So at the end, on the fintech, what happens a lot is that you focus on a particular product, or at least at the beginning, then you go and expand a bit. That together with the fact that it's so easy to just open an online account, and it's for free usually, do you think that fintechs are going to end up being like a one player for each specific product? Because at the end, the one that does it better will just get the complete, volume of customers, or not? And if not, how do you think you can differentiate?
I mean, there is no single answer. In Cantox, we want clearly to be the super specialist in FX technology. I'm quite sure, but Francisco will answer, that N26 will be a one-stop shop bank for retail, offering mortgages at some point and everything you need as a retail client. So I don't think there is a single answer. So it's some super specialists and some generalists.
I don't believe there's going to be a winner takes all either. So it's not going to be like a Facebook or maybe an Amazon. Consider the fintech sector is too big for that to happen, and we already see banks offering the same products, same services, and being very competitive. No, so at the end, I mean, you can go to the best one for one specific product, but as we grow, there will be several ones accessing the same market with a very similar value proposition, and they will still keep growing at same level. So I wouldn't think that's a problem right now that we have to attack.
Okay, so we have to stop the panel. We thank you very much for your very interesting insights and time. So let's... Yeah. 2 minutes, huh?